Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Director's Corner, issue number 2 of this brand new series. There's a few things to talk about today. There aren't really any massive things I want to talk about. There's no huge, incredible updates or big announcements to make. Way to sell this video, but the point is, it's a collection of small little things that I wanted to talk about that relate to the updates of the channel, things going on, things that are gonna come soon, and in many ways, I just wanted to recap a little bit these first 4 months, and on that note, with the whole 4 months thing, I thought that I might address just the new schedule that we've laid out for Director's Corner. So in the first issue, I mentioned that I wanted to do a biannual release for this. So that meaning that I wanted to do 2 a year, as I felt that was a reasonable rhythm. Upon thinking about it further, I thought 3 a year might actually be just a little better. It's really only 1 extra per year, but I thought it helped pace things out a little bit more evenly. And the way that the schedule is going to work is there is going to be one in September, as that's sort of the anniversary year, or not year, it's the anniversary month of the channel, and so it makes sense to have a Director's Corner there where we can, update on the big news of the channel and all that. All the small news as well, just any news. The point is September is a good month to have one of these. The next one would be in January, so that's this one. And, I thought December could have been a good pick as well. But January, I think, is just a bit better because as one of the things that this show is meant to be is kind of a recap of, what's gone down in the last 4 months in between episodes or issues of this series. I thought that January would be a better fit because it's quite likely that we're going to release things in December. I mean, December is a big month for us. We love releasing things then. So December might end up being a bit overloaded with stuff. There might end up being too many things in December. So I thought that a way to curb that would be to have the Director's Corner in January, and then we can kind of recap what happened in December, as there's likely gonna be stuff that happened in December, and this December was no exception, or I guess last December was no exception. And the third one will be, technically the second one in the year, but it would be in May. So you'd have one in January, one in May, and one in September, all exactly 4 months apart. So I thought that kind of paced it out nicely. So yeah, one right at the beginning of the year in January, one towards the middle of the year in May, and then one towards more the end of the year. Well, not exactly the end, but the fall seasons, or the latter half of the year in September. So the next big thing that I wanted to talk about, and I think probably the biggest thing that I can talk about right now, is the launch of Screenwriter's pitch. Obviously, it's the launch of everything. I mean, we started up this channel only in September as a kind of legacy continuation of the last channel, which is now VariantPictures Classic. And the reasons as to why this all happened, why we did this move, and why we created this channel, and what's the deal with this and the old one, was explained in the last issue. That's really what the entirety of that issue of Director's Corner was about, was explaining that change, as well as introducing some of the new shows, many of which we have started, and we can now kind of look back and recap how those went down, which we will do here in this video. Screenwriter's pitch is the first major thing that we launched. I mean, we had a few different types of videos, but Screenwriter's pitch is by far and away the one that's done the best, that's performed the best, which honestly is pretty much what I expected. And so I'm very happy to see that I was right, and that it did do well and people really liked it. And there's a ton of engagement on it. People are really, interacting with the video and commenting and sharing their own pitches and things they would have changed and all these things. And that really makes me very happy because that's exactly what I wanted with this. I didn't want it to just feel like I'm coming in being like, this is how it should be. It cannot be any other way. I really want it to feel like, hey, look, this is my take on it. This is what I would do. I'm an individual, just one person, with my own creative voice. This is my approach to it. And seeing a bunch of other people's interpretations in the comments, was really cool too, seeing what, you guys had to say and what you guys would do with it. I really enjoyed reading that, and I do mean that sincerely. I honestly love reading the comments. That honestly, the best part of making YouTube videos for me is reading those. So I appreciate each and every person who comments on the videos. I appreciate you very much. And I thank you, because it's the best part of this for me. And also, of course, seeing people really enjoying my version specifically, which I was sharing, brought me a lot of joy too. I had some nervousness, some apprehension towards it, because, I don't want to get into drama, but this version of Spider-Man, this version of the character, that is quite contentious amongst the general Spider-Man fandom. So I did have a feeling that I was treading on eggshells on both ends, mind you. I didn't, because I didn't want to sort of piss off either side. I wasn't, because that's not what I was trying to do. I was trying to be very neutral here, and again, without getting into too much detail, I'm not gonna lie. This version of the character is not my favorite. I'm not saying it's the worst thing to have ever been created. Like, okay, I'm not, but I'm just saying it's not my favorite. It's not the one that I would consider the top. But my mission was not to, like, I didn't want to make this pitch out of spite. I didn't want to make this being like, oh yeah, this is how you're gonna treat this character, so like whatever, it's like, because that's not how I feel. I genuinely went into this thinking like, sure, okay, this may not be my favorite version of the character, but I'm going to treat this pitch as if I really was given the opportunity to do this, and I'm going to treat it with the respect it deserves, and this version of the character with the respect it deserves. And I genuinely went into this with the intention of creating the best third MCU Spider-Man film I could. I really wasn't trying to undermine anything. If anything, I was trying my best to prop up the best parts of the previous films and put them into this, and really, craft what I felt would be, if not the most, at least one of the more satisfying ways it could go, or at least a satisfying ending to the trilogy as I could. The point that I'm getting at, I think, is just that in spite of MCU Spider-Man not being my favorite, I still wanted to treat this pitch and this version of the character with the respect it deserves. And I genuinely wanted to make the best film in that this could be. Because there are creative choices that were made here that were definitely, sort of my approach, my creative, approach to this. But there are things here that, if I had, full free reign, like to create any version of Spider-Man I wanted, I wouldn't do. There are things in there that I wrote in because I felt that made the most sense for this version of the character. I felt like that would be the best thing for this film to do. But if it was entirely up to me to create a version of the character, I wouldn't do that. Does that make any sense? The point I'm getting at is just that, I wrote things into the script that, it's not like I didn't like what I wrote or that I didn't believe in what I wrote. I did, but it's just that I put things in here that I felt, this film should have. I wasn't just going to mutilate this version of the character into a Spider-Man 3 that I would rather do. Does that make sense? Like, I didn't want to take this character and be like, I don't like this thing, I don't like that element, I don't like this creative choice that was made with this version of the character, so I'm just going to eject all of that, and I'm just gonna do my own thing with this, right? Like, that, I didn't want to do that. That is not what I wanted to do. I looked at what we had, I looked at where we were left at the end of Far From Home, and I thought, okay, I don't necessarily agree with all of this, but fair enough, that is the choice that was made. So, where do we go from here? What do I believe to be the best place to go from here? I'm not going to try and retcon anything. As a matter of fact, when I accidentally wrote in a minor inconsistency, which somebody pointed out, in the next part of the series, I immediately, first thing in the video, I addressed it and corrected it so that it would be as in line with the films that came before it as possible. That's how much I cared about this feeling consistent and appropriate to this series, in spite of maybe being things that I wouldn't necessarily care for, but because I felt like this, deserved that, it deserved the respect, because I didn't want to treat anything with spite. I was going to treat it with the respect it deserved, and so that's exactly what I did, or at least that's what I tried to do. I'm incredibly grateful for all the support. It truly means a lot. I'm so happy that people are and have enjoyed this pitch. Every time I see a new comment, I'm just really happy to read it. It's just like so much fun to have this feeling of community, and I'm also glad in a way, because I didn't necessarily plan for this, but I'm glad that I released it, in several parts over the course of a few months, because what it allowed for was seeing people go through the story as it goes along. And even now that all the parts are out, I still see this from time to time, where people will be going through it and will comment along the way, and they'll be like, wow, I didn't see that coming, or like, oh, now I get that, or I don't know, whatever. The point is, like, they're going as the episodes go along and seeing their reactions as it goes along, as opposed to if I just released it in one block, which I ultimately did, but after all the parts had already been out, and getting to see like the reactions as it goes along, and of course by the end of it, seeing people sort of concluding thoughts on it was really fun too. Seeing people analyze the film, and I saw a lot of people being rather, like, actually quite analytical of the film, over the pitch. Really, it's not a film, but seeing people being quite analytical and analyzing sort of themes and characters and being, critiquing this and that was really cool. I was not expecting people to read and dig that deeply into the story, given that it was just a pitch. I didn't think anyone would really care that much. Turns out some people did, and I really respect those people, so thank you. It's crazy to see people reading into the subtext, which I definitely wrote in. You can look in the comments. I reply to as many as I can, and you'll see that I often do discuss with people themes and character and all that, and exchanging with them, and that's a lot of fun too. So I just because this was a pitch and not a full-on like fan film or something, wasn't gonna mean that I wasn't gonna try. I definitely went into this to do the best I could. I honestly did not expect that it would be as long as it was. It's an hour and 50 minutes at the end of the day. When edited together, if you just take those 5 parts and put them together, it's over 2 hours. But the final edited down version, like if you remove the bit at the end where I'm like, hey, subscribe and all that, if you remove all that stuff, it's an hour and 53 minutes or something like that, which is crazy. I didn't expect that, and I didn't go into this with the intention of doing that. I really was thinking this was gonna be, like, at first just a 1 video pitch, just like a quick little pitch, like a quick little snack. It turned out to then become literally a feature-length pitch. Not something I expected, not really what I wanted either, but it is what it is. And look, I'm not gonna complain. I'm happy with what I made. Is it a lot longer than I anticipated? Absolutely, but I'm really happy with it, and I'm really happy that you guys are enjoying it too. The idea of doing a screenwriter's pitch or something like this, I've had in my mind for so long. I've always wanted to do something like this. I just never really had the time or the commitment to do it, and I don't even know why, but now felt like the right time to do it. This idea, specifically this one, the Spider-Man 3, MCU Spider-Man 3 pitch, has been kind of knocking around in my brain since like last May. That's kind of when I've been thinking about it. I have a ton of others. This one wasn't even meant to be the first one. I'm not gonna say which one was supposed to be the first, but the point is that stuff happened, not on my end, but in the world. I mean, that meant that I felt uncomfortable at the idea of doing it now or then. And even still now, I'm a little bit unsure of it. I will get around to it eventually, but it won't be the next one. It's going to be probably for later. I do have my eyes on the next one. I'm still working on it as we speak right now. And, one of my main inspirations, because the thing is that, like, the idea for Screenwriter's pitch was more recent, but the idea of doing a pitch of some sort in this format I've had for way longer, like for way, way longer. Because one of my biggest inspirations for this is, maybe you guys know him, it's Bandit Incorporated. Don't know if that rings a bell. He doesn't really post much these days. But he used to have these two different series. He had one which was What It Should Be, which is basically a pitch for an upcoming movie or a film that doesn't exist in any capacity. And his other series was What It Should Have Been, which is a rewrite series where he goes back and does that. If you go and watch those series, you'll find that I completely ripped off the style. Like that, I completely ripped it off. The only difference is mine is better. I don't want to say that because it makes me sound like such an egotistical prick, but then again, his was made like a long time ago when like editing softwares were not as good as they are now. But because I really like went hard on this, and like you can look at like the shots have like bokeh and screen shake and all that. Like I really tried to make it feel as cinematic as possible, in spite of the fact that they are PNGs moving across the screen. But the point is that I ripped off the style completely. But just because I think it's a really cool style and allows for more immersion, even though it's more static, I think it allows for more immersion than the style of like Nando V Movies, who's the sort of contemporary pitch guy, like who does all these pitches and rewrites and what have you, because his style is exclusively except for that one video where it was like a storyboard style, but every other video is like he takes clips, like video clips from various movies and puts them in. And I did that too, so my style kind of merges the two of those. But I felt like doing exclusively Nando's kind of style was, I don't know, I felt constricted by that. And doing the sort of Photoshop style allowed for a bit more immersion, I felt, because I could have, the right background and the right characters and everything and move it however I wanted. It allowed for more freedom, essentially, is what I'm saying. But yeah, it's been an idea that I've had for a very long time, and I'm glad that I finally got the chance to do it. With this, Spider-Man was a bit more relevant than the other idea anyway. So I'm glad I did that. And I got a few comments, this is the last thing I'll say on this, I got a few comments being like, you should do a new pitch, or alternatively, why didn't you do a pitch that included, like, all of the leaks and stuff we know, like, the film might be a Spider-Verse thing, and Doc Ock might be in it, and Electro, and, well, Jamie Foxx is Electro specifically, things like that, and, I considered it. If you watch the first part, I even mentioned that I might do that, and the truth is, like, I had, like, one version of the script, which is what you ended up seeing, ready, and then the leaks were starting to come out, and I kind of hastily wrote together, like, I just kind of patched together this alternate version, which included the leaks, and it wasn't fundamentally all that different. It was just, like, it literally was just, like, this version of Electro was the Jamie Foxx one that came from a different parallel universe, and then the end of the film would have been more explicitly Spider-Verse. And the thing is that the first part, like the pre-title sequence, would have been the same in both scripts, in both pitches, I suppose, and so I didn't need to change anything there. But after that came out, I made the choice to stick with my original script, which didn't include any of the leak stuff. Firstly, because again, who knows even how accurate this information is. Like, it's very uncertain as to what exactly everything means. but also because it felt like if I did that, it would go against my aim with the pitch, which was, how would I do that? If I was given free reign to do whatever for this sequel, what would I do? And including the leaks kind of went against that, because I wouldn't have had Jamie Foxx as Electro. I wouldn't have fucking thought of that. That's a weird idea that I didn't consider. So that wouldn't have been me. That wouldn't have been an idea I would have done. That's not the direction I would have taken it in. So I felt like ultimately no, I was right. I'm going to stick with my original script and not this hastily put together one at the last minute that includes some of the leaks. Which wouldn't have been, again, that different. It would have been slightly different, but not that much. But still, I decided not to do it. There is a post-credit scene where I include sort of a Spider-Verse kind of teaser at the end. But, that's just a post-credit scene, and that is an idea I had regardless. Kind of like a fanboy fantasy kind of thing. So that's that. I do also want to make it clear. Screenwriter's pitch, because the next pitch I'm gonna do is a rewrite, at least if unless some big catastrophe comes along and changes my plans. But it's so far the one I'm working on right now is a rewrite, and I want to make something clear, and I'm gonna make it clear in that pitch as well. Both for a pitch for a film that doesn't exist, and for a pitch for a pitch for a rewrite. In both cases, it's not intended to be criticism. I might be a little bit critical of whatever I'm doing. In the MCU Spider-Man 3 pitch, there were some moments that I was clearly doing a little bit of criticism of the previous films, but always in an attempt to be look, I don't think that thing worked. Here's how I would fix that, or here's how I would address that, or whatever. My aim is always to make something better. I'm not trying to tear things down. I'm just taking something that I think has some issues and trying to fix them to make something that I think, and hopefully other people also think, though they're free to disagree, is better. That is just my goal here. I'm not trying to... the point is, Screenwriter's pitch is not criticism. I'm not trying to criticize, even with a rewrite, which seems contradictory, but with a rewrite, I'm not trying to criticize. It's not I hope that you guys will not take the rewrite videos as me criticizing the original film, even though, yes, by virtue of doing things differently than that film, it will come off as a criticism. But that's not necessarily the case, because I don't think that saying this could have been done better is necessarily saying that thing is bad. It's just saying this thing is whatever it is. It's good, it's okay, maybe even bad, yes. But I think whatever level it is at, good, bad, whatever level it's on, I think it could be better than what it is. And that's my goal with the Screenwriter's pitch. Rewrites is just to say, look, I think there are ways of improving this. Maybe it requires more drastic changes, maybe smaller changes, whatever it is. But I'm not trying to do a criticism video. That's not my intention. So I hope that's clear. All right. I think the next few topics should be a bit shorter. That was the main big one. So the next thing I want to talk about is the podcast, the VariantPictures Podcast. Probably our least watched thing on the channel, I think. At least the first episode. The second one did a bit better, and that's fine. It's equally kind of what I expected, given that the podcast, and I tried to remedy this with the second episode, but given that the podcast, much like Director's Corner, is inherently sort of introspective, that requires a community there to watch, right? Unlike Screenwriter's pitch, which is an outreaching thing. It's a thing that anyone can watch regardless of whether or not you follow the channel or not. So that has a much wider appeal. Things like the Director's Corner issues, things like the podcast are inherently a lot more introspective, and therefore have an audience smaller than that of the channel itself if you're doing introspective videos. your audience for that is smaller than your channel, because not even everyone who is subscribed to you will watch those. Again, that's something I remedied, or at least attempted to remedy, and successfully, because the views have exceeded the number of subscribers we have. But yeah, the second episode, we sort of remedied this by doing a bit of a wider net. It still sort of stayed within the fan film community, which is, a fairly extensive community, but it's not the most extensive thing. It's not got a massive audience necessarily. By that I mean it's not got a massive audience of dedicated people who care about the very community itself. Of course, some fan films individually have a big audience, but the community stuff doesn't necessarily have the biggest audience. People don't care as much about the community side of everything, is what I'm saying. But the podcast with Buckeye was an absolute blast to film. Even he will tell you that. We both had a ton of fun filming that, and we definitely intend to do stuff in the future, because we got along really well on that podcast. Things went really well there, and I've been in talks with other people in the fan film community to do podcasts with them, and I'm 100% looking forward to doing a lot of that. I haven't had the time to record any new podcast episodes yet. January's been a bit crazy, and so has December. And the thing about that is that the podcast with Buckeye was supposed to come out in November. I don't know if I mentioned this in the Last Director's Corner, but that podcast was meant to be a monthly thing, and it's not, clearly. The second episode came out in December, the first one was in October. I don't know that we're going to have a super consistent schedule for the podcast, and I think that's fine. It's not a super popular thing on our channel anyway, so it's not like people are anticipating it with bated breath, and I think I'd rather just find the time to do one really good podcast and not try and force out a bunch of them just for the sake of it. I would like to do maybe one every 2 to 3 months or something, but who knows. I'm not necessarily going to force it either, but I'm sort of going to aim in that direction. And we'll see how that goes. Another thing that was mentioned in the Last Director's Corner was the schedule of the channel itself, in which I said that we were aiming for, we had a range, essentially. The minimum would be 1 video a month, the maximum would be 1 a week. And we technically broke that, but only in the sense that we have technically done more than 1 a week. So in a way, we broke, our pledge there, but in a good way, because we did more videos and not less. November, I believe, is the month we uploaded the least. I think November only has a single upload that month, and January is not going to be far behind, because we're only going to have 2 uploads this month. But I always knew that January was going to be kind of an off month. We're preparing a lot of things right now. We're kind of in the thick of everything. So I knew that in December. I knew that January was going to be quite intense. So this is kind of what I expected. So I'm not surprised that we didn't upload much in January. I can tell you now, February we're going to have a ton of stuff, and March we have a ton of stuff planned too. But February we got a bunch of shit lined up. We got some very exciting stuff for February. At least exciting for us. We'll see for you. But I believe it's gonna be exciting for you, and we're all looking forward to releasing all of that. But we can never know in advance, so we'll have to wait and see, because it's something a little bit new technically for this channel. Not for the old one, but for this one, it's technically new, because we've done it on the old channel, but we have not yet done it on this channel. So technically, it's new. We'll see how it goes. We're all very excited for it. It's been in the works for a while. So yeah. But yeah, the point I'm trying to get at is we've stuck to the schedule. I'm very happy with that. We've done exactly what I said. Between 1 a month and 1 a week, and actually a little bit beyond that. We've done several times a week. So yeah, things are going well on that front, and I'm very happy about that. Because keeping a schedule is tough. and the fact we've been able to do it and still have a certain level of like flow to it. Like, you know, we're not constricted to it is exactly one a month, it is exactly one a week. No, we have a bit of freedom to maneuver around while still having some sort of schedule that's not stable, but at the very least it's consistent. Technically it's consistent to what we promised. And so the last thing that I want to talk about today is about something we announced back in December, on December 25th, Christmas Day to be specific, and that is Spider-Man Life of a Hero. Unfortunately, there's not much I can say right now. We were hoping that we could have started production by the end of this month. That's not looking particularly likely. Maybe, if we're very lucky. But it's probably going to be like the very, very beginning of February. So it's very soon, as I'm filming this video anyway, because I'm filming this a bit in advance. But it's going to be very soon. That I can promise you, it's going to be very soon that we're going to start production. We're really at like 95% done. We just want to be 100% sure and 100% ready. So yeah, we're very happy with it. We're very confident about the script so far. We're really in the final stretch here before we begin production. And if you want to know exactly when we start production and you want to be updated as the process goes along, follow us on Instagram at VariantPictures. That is where we are a bit more present than on YouTube. It's just easier to post stuff on Instagram, like small updates, than it is on YouTube. So if you want to be updated more regularly and kind of live in a way as things go along, instead of having to wait for a director's corner where we recap everything, Instagram is the place to go. That's where we are very regular on there. As for what exactly Life of a Hero is, we're going to stay a little bit vague on it for now. Trust me, we will have a deep dive into it some other time. Maybe the next director's corner, maybe completely its own thing. But we'll do a big video, or at least a part of a video, something. You know, we'll have a big, proper, deep dive into what this is. Obviously, it's a fan film. That's clear. Like, I hope that's clear with everyone. It is a fan film. But the specifics of it, we'll get into later. As to when you can expect more information, because we'll probably post things like casting announcements and maybe a few set photos, but nothing too major in the weeks to come. But as for a proper video, like a first look, like a trailer or something like that, again, because of the current world situation, things are very unpredictable, and it's hard to know exactly if things are going to go the way we want them. Are we going to have a lockdown again? Is the curfew going to change? You know, it's so like, what are the safety measures we have to have? Like, so it's a very uncertain time. Nothing is very consistent, which makes a film production very difficult, because a film production works best on consistency. So not having that is a bit of an issue, but we're going to try our best. And look, I'll say this. There are 2 dates you can expect something. The first one is when we hope to kind of get something out a little bit, and the other is when we are confident we can get something out. I'll start with the latter. We are confident that we can get you something like a trailer, like a proper good trailer, by May, which is a way off, I know, but that's when we're confident that we can get you something, like an actual trailer in May. That's when we're confident. When we hope to get something out to you, and we hope that we can get you some sort of teaser, you know, maybe a trailer if we're very lucky, but at least some sort of teaser of some sort, along with more information on it, that would be March. So like just over a month from now, technically, when this video is uploaded. That's when we are hoping to get something out to you, but when we are confident is May. Again, everything is subject to change, but yeah, either way, I suspect that by May, if something has changed, you'll know about it. And of course, I'd love to give a release date right now, but again, everything is so uncertain. We have a release date in mind. We know what it is, so it's not like even we don't know, but we have a goal that we've determined, and we believe that it is feasible, even with the current conditions. But the thing is that the current conditions are only the current conditions for so long. We don't know where things are going to go, so it could go either which direction, and we genuinely don't know. It's kind of maddening, but that's the way the situation is. So yeah, we can't give a release date right now, because it's just like we don't know. Like like we know what the release date that we're aiming for is, but we don't know if that release date is gonna be even possible, even a month from now. Like, because who knows what's gonna happen? Who knows the developments that could happen? The point is, even if things do happen, lockdowns and whatever, we are going to do everything in our power and our legal means. Like, we're not going to break the law, but we're going to do everything we can to get this project done. So yeah, like, we're going to try our damnedest. Like, it's going to be tough, I'm sure, because of because again, who knows what's going to happen in the world. Lockdowns and new strains of virus and shit, so who knows. The point is, it's uncertain. We have a release date in mind, and again, we are hopeful that by March we could tell you, and we are confident that in May we will tell you. That we will be able to tell you then. The point of these directors' corners is ultimately transparency with you guys, the audience, and so I hope that we can be as transparent as we can, but also, we don't want to say things that are, even for us, very tentative. We want to be sure about what we're saying. We want to be confident with what we're saying, so that we don't have to then backtrack later when things go wrong, which they often do in filmmaking. So, projects come and go, sometimes. This isn't one of them. I'm not saying be wary that this project will get cancelled. I mean, knock on wood, but like, we're not aiming to cancel this. But the point is, in the past and on the old channel, we've announced things that never happened, because that's what happens sometimes. Projects come and go. And it's not our intent to do that, but that's just kind of how things go in the creative process. And ultimately, I hope that by giving you this information of like the things we're hopeful of versus the things we are confident with, I hope that that is at least some form of transparency, in the sense that we're showing you that not everything is necessarily set in stone, especially not in these uncertain times. But we also don't want to give you guys false hope either. We don't want to say, we're definitely doing this, when that's more what we're hoping for. What I'm saying is, we don't want to do a cyberpunk, essentially. Like, we don't want to give you guys what we hope we can achieve and then have to disappoint you when it's not the case. Instead, we want to give you, we want to be transparent that, like, look, this is what we're hoping to do, and also give you here's what we are confident in, and distinguishing the two, because I think those are very important things to distinguish. There are things we are hopeful and things that we are confident in, and sometimes they'll align. Sometimes the thing we are hopeful of and the thing we are confident in are the same, and in that case, that's what we'll say. It's like, we are hopeful and confident that we'll be able to do this by then in this way, right? But not everything is set in stone. Not in 2021 anyway. I guess that's all I really had to say. And I realized that I say that, but I've been talking for like 50 minutes. So, but yeah, I hope you guys, enjoyed not only this video, but the last 4 months, and really the first 4 months of the channel. It's been very exciting for us. We are all super happy and super grateful for the support on the videos so far. And we're really, we all are very confident that 2021, in spite of all the challenges, will be a great year for us, because we've got so much in the pipeline. We're very excited. We've got a lot of projects coming, and it's just it's crazy. It's crazy time. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for coming along with us for the last 4 months. I hope to see you all in the months to come. Thank you so much for all the support. It really does mean a lot to us. And the comments, as I said, love reading them. It's great, and it really helps us, especially in these tough times. Seeing a bit of positivity and engagement with something that we've made really brings us a lot of joy. So thank you very much for all of that. We appreciate all of you very much, and I hope you know that. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.